We are live streaming. Hey everyone, it's Morna Haist here, the founder of Revolutionary Woman Global, and joined by the amazing Rebecca Whitecotton. And while you're arriving, I see our broadcast, so I'm just going to pop us into the Revolutionary Woman group, and then we will get going. Okay. All right, we're nearly there. Love seat live. Okay. All right, my love, we are live. We're live in the Revolutionary Woman Global Group. So the first thing I'm going to do is give your amazing introduction, because I want everybody to hear about you before we get going. And actually, before we get going, and I'll say something more about this at the end, this is our very final love seat for this first season of the Love Seat, the experiment that I started last December in response to women saying, I want to be visible, I want to be more visible. And so this has been a weekly experiment in visibility and showing up and giving each other some love and support. And Rebecca, this is your very first live interview, am I right?
It is.
Well, welcome. I feel really honored that we get to do this together, and I want to tell folks about you as we get started. So you're a modern day philosopher. I love that. A wannabe Socrates sitting on the digital steps of the internet Parthenon. Wow. Throwing out ideas about the nature of reality. I can't wait to talk about that. With the publication of your book, Pull Yourself Together, which you have, can you show us the cover as I'm talking about it? It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Thank you. A true story of alternate reality, spiritual healing, and dimensional wholeness. Rebecca as interdimensional traveler, whoa, to her list of job titles, which have included reporter, editor, children's book author, mom, optimist, graphic designer, and chauffeur. Yeah, I'm a part-time chauffeur as well. She offers workshops and retreats about multidimensional thinking and connecting with alternative versions of yourself in the multiverse. Whoa, we are so starting there. You're also an award-winning children's book author of Child of Mine Know This, hailed by Neil Donald Walsh as the single most imaginative children's book to come along in ages. And you won some awards for it, finalist in the Coalition of Visionary Retailers Award, Light of Consciousness magazine, called it a hallmark book in the age of emerging global consciousness. Wow. And your second children's book spilled the beans about Santa Claus and Santa's greatest gift, which is now available as a free ebook. And one of your favorite moments was when your son discovered Santa's greatest gift in the top 50 free children's books downloads. That's so amazing, Rebecca. Welcome. You're such an incredible human being, multidimensional human being, intergalactic human being. And I want to ask you about that shortly. And before we get there, I just tell us a little bit about your journey with writing. It sounds like you're a several times over published author. Tell us a little bit as we kick off about why you chose writing as your vehicle, and what's been your experience of becoming an author? And welcome.
So my experience of becoming an author, I wrote the children's book and published that in 2006. I self-published it. Okay. And after that, I kind of said, not doing that again. it's a lot of work, and for very little monetary reward. A huge reward in touching people, in making a difference in people's lives, which is totally worth it.
Right.
So then I found myself journaling and meditating to heal myself from a place of brokenness that I was in, where I actually felt like I had forgotten who I was completely. Yeah. I was disconnected from the emotions of the memories that I had. And I was like, wow, I wish I could do that. But So anyway, in this healing, I was journaling and I was meditating, and my journaling kept coming out like a book. And I was like, oh yeah, there's no way, okay, that I'm gonna do that.
And you're like, yeah, haha, thanks, universe. No thanks. Yeah.
But then, I kept getting this nudge that what I was writing could help other people who might be experiencing the same thing. And so I said to the universe, I said, okay, well, if I'm supposed to write a book, make it obvious and make it easy. And the next week, I got in my inbox an email about this transformational author coach, and she was doing this free thing. And then if you did that, then you could enter a contest to a book proposal and enter a contest to win a publishing package and writing coaching. And I won. So
okay, there's a pretty big sign.
So yes, and it was Christine Closer, who I think
yes,
I think you're familiar with. So so Christine Closer, I won a year of writing coaching with her and a publishing package. And when I heard that I won, my reaction was, oh my gosh, now I have to actually do it. And honestly, I am so thankful to her, because I don't know that I would have actually followed through with it had I not won that package. I would have, my fear would have probably gotten the best of me. Plus, it's a lot of work to do it. So, so it was a gift from the universe, and here I am.
Wow, that is amazing. And I just love stories like yours. And yeah, writing is such a process. And yes, I do know Christine. I've actually been on retreat with Christine, and other people in my community have also published through Christine. She's an amazing human being. And yeah, I think, which you didn't, many folks underestimate what happens when we go through the writing process and how it can really open us up and how challenging it is to go through it. I think it's something that is meant to be done in community. Of course, ultimately, we're the ones writing it ourselves, but that community of people to hold folks through the experience, because the experience itself is so transformational. And
right.
I'm curious about what the journey of writing itself was like for you after the universe kind of said, like, you're doing it, Rebecca.
Well, my journey of writing probably, I feel like it was very guided. I mean, I just kept writing and was like, okay, well, whatever. And then my book is about connecting with alternate versions of yourself in parallel realities. And there was one morning where, I had been writing and everything. And in my meditation, when I just would put my fingers on the keyboard, and a future version of myself came to me and said, this is the day that you figure it out. This is the day that you see that you figure out how the book is going to go, that you see the flow of it, that you connect the dots, that you connect the selves into this one thing that's going to be this book, but it's also going to be your whole self. So that was pretty cool.
Just dropping my tiny microphone down as you said, yeah, that is pretty cool. That is pretty cool that it sounds like your writing process is mirroring what you're talking about. Tell us, it's a great segue into talking about multidimensional thinking, connecting with alternative versions of ourselves. Can you speak to that, Rebecca? Firstly, what are you talking about? Secondly, and then actually the second question I want to say is, how do we do that? And, I can think of it through my frame of reference. I have some ideas coming up. I'm super curious. What is it all about?
Okay, so multidimensional thinking, we're here on the third dimension, right? In third dimensional consciousness. And while we're here on Earth, we can actually experience the third dimensional energy fourth dimensional energy, which fourth dimensional energy is like the astral plane, like dreaming, ghosts, that kind of thing. And the fifth dimension is when you go into meditation, maybe, or you have a spontaneous moment of bliss. You feel like you're connected with the universe, with something bigger, and it's full of unconditional love and lack of judgment and those kind of things. And the thing is, you can actually choose at which level you're going to experience life by where you place your energy. It's not easy, you know, because when you're in some third dimensional, when you're in something, you know, down in the weeds doing something, it's really hard to think, okay, let me look at this situation from a fifth dimensional perspective. So one of the things is that in the fifth dimension, alternate realities are available to you. So are real. So when you make a choice in third dimensional reality, you make a choice and you go on this one path. There's no turning back and going the other way. There's no looking back to see what happened. You can wonder, but you can't go back and see. So you have these branches going off from all these different choices that you make. If you kind of raise your vibration up, your consciousness in meditation or hypnotherapy, or there's a whole bunch of different ways, dreaming, you can see that from at this fifth dimensional level, you have all these different yous, all these different Mornas are living their lives, and yourself, your big self, your higher self, loves them all. I mean, your higher self wants to experience every possible thing there is, and that's why these alternate realities go off in different directions. So in a multidimensional consciousness, you're aware, you're not living these other lives, but you're aware that, you know, the me who went to a different college is doing something completely different. And I didn't get to experience that. But she's getting to experience that. So together, we're experiencing everything. So, I mean, I've come to have this idea of this multidimensional team that I have that's made up of all the different versions of me in all of space and time, and they support me. And I can go into this etheric cathedral that I created and ask for help and get it, or I can go and support other versions of me who are seeking help, or, you know, they might not even know what they're doing, but so that's the basics of it. So what questions do you have?
Wow. Well, I'm taking it in and I'm digesting, and and it's so weird. I'm going to take a photograph of this right now because we're kind of experiencing something. I've got, and you're about to see this because you're only looking at me right now. But I've got us open on Facebook at the same time, and I actually froze the live video because we'd be able to hear feedback from us. But you know, there's the you that was there at the beginning of the interview that I'm looking at, and you're frozen and smiling like this, and I think it's a really cool kind of just concrete example maybe of what you're talking about. I know through my own work, I think it's interesting how we relate to things, and I'm making sense of what you're talking about through some of my own lenses, and it's really curious because in my dojo today we're actually going to be talking to our future selves, which is, I run a weekly dojo for women leading change, and we talk a lot about who we're becoming. And yeah, I love what you're talking about, and what I really relate as you're speaking is what's possible when we are able to view our situations or our lives or these multiple experiences through the lens of unconditional love and acceptance is so in contrast to personally what I believe is our day-to-day human experience, where there's so much that kind of gets in the way of that. It sounds like you've had a very connected, guided experience of something being revealed to you and then and revealed to you over and over again through this process. What would you say to someone? Actually, the question I want to ask is, what's occurring for somebody when they're interacting with your work? What are they seeking? What are they looking for? What's missing in their lives? And that may be a challenging question to answer, but I'm really curious about it.
So, I mean, I don't know specifically what all people are looking for, but I know that a lot of people have regret about something, man, I wish that I would have done that, or wouldn't my life be better if blah, blah. So, but the truth is that regret is you thinking that you lost a competition with another version of yourself. And you're really on the same team, so you don't need to compete with each other. I mean, that's the paradigm shift that I had. Kind of, if I look at myself as part of this team, so it's like I watched the Olympics with the New Zealand and Sweden soccer match, the women's soccer match. And, they show the goalie making these saves, and they show the people who make the goals. So those are the people who are the stars, but right. The team takes, everybody, the defenders and the people who sit on the bench waiting to see if they're going to be able to play, to step in when they're needed. It takes the coach, it takes soccer moms, it takes, all these people who are supporting, and that the whole team would fall down if those weren't there. And so the different versions of you, even like the ones that are so depressed that they can't get up, that just have to stay in bed because they're so depressed. The higher self wants to experience what it feels like to be depressed, and to see what it takes to move past that, like to see what it takes to get through it. And I really do believe that there, on every single path, there's something amazing to discover.
Yeah.
So, my healing, I was looking for healing from a huge regret that I had. And I would not have discovered this. I would not have been led to this if that had happened. So you just have to be open to the flow, because there are so many things that are possible. One of you can't do them all. You can't possibly do it all.
Wow. Okay, I'm just having a moment where my brain is kind of exploding, which is good. I love those moments, and I hope if you're watching, it's happening for you as well. I know that because of my lack of ability to go live in my group, that most folks watch these on replay. So just know, if you want to drop a question to Rebecca, or if you're having something going on, then please post in the chat. It's super curious for me. I mean, when we've had many conversations like this as a family for us, when we moved from New Zealand to the States in 2016, it was very traumatic for our family and our children in particular.
Yeah.
And as we've digested and moved through it as a family, it's quite amazing to hear, especially my youngest daughter, really understanding that those experiences have created who she is now in so many ways, and that it is curious about how in our human bodies we have a tendency to want only the good experiences, and a tendency to want to kind of bypass the things that are negative, or have regrets about certain things. And I know for me, often when I'm having a regretful moment, which I tend not to, it's more, it's because I'm experiencing something terrible in the moment that I'm in right now, that I'm then seeking to change the past in some way. But when I really do lean into one of the fundamental ideas that I live by, which is everything is unfolding in service of who I'm becoming,
Yes.
Then there's a relaxing quality to that. There's a quality of acceptance which can be really challenging. I mean, none of us particularly want to experience emotions that are difficult. And there's just so much available to us when we're able to surrender to what's happening in the moment. And I love the ideas of I feel like as we're talking, I've got different movies playing in my body of these different versions of me who are hanging out somewhere doing their thing. And I would imagine, like, what's your opinion on this? It feels to me like there are infinite versions of myself. Because am I not in each moment? Is that how you see it?
So, well, I don't know what the science says. I mean, science does confirm that there are multiple realities. I mean, I've read all these books on quantum physics, and I just love it when I read a quantum physicist talking about how there are multiple versions of you, and that version doesn't know what this version is thinking. And it's just like, it's so fun. But I don't know how many, it could be any quantum measurement can create a branch, is basically what it says. So huge numbers. So, I mean, it's just mind-boggling to think about. But even if you just think of the major decisions that you make, because the other little ones probably wouldn't be different enough to really affect anything, but the major decisions, I've heard some people say that there's like a finite number, but I don't really know. I mean, it doesn't really matter to me. But
that's it. It doesn't really matter. And I think that's also, I know for me, especially as I mature, whatever that means, or I think, expand as a human in terms of my own belief system, I think that there can be our tendency to want to know can be limiting. For me personally, because we're attempting to understand something through our human lens, which in and of itself is limiting from my perspective. And I'm curious about your perspective and ideas around past lives and how that comes into play.
Well, I do believe in past lives. Of course, I also believe that time is an illusion, and
okay, let's just drop in the big bombs at the end. I love it. Hang on, sorry. Okay.
So one of the bombshells that I got in the meditation that I put in my book is that my higher self was telling me that I needed to pull all versions of Rebecca into this sphere of oneness that I could create. And then that ball of Rebecca could merge with the ball of all the versions of the past life that I'm aware of me as a shaman woman.
Wow.
And that then I can merge with all of the other versions of me from past lives that think they're separate from me, but really we're all one. So it's like, you go further and further, and you get closer and closer, and it just becomes until we're all one. I mean, we're all just the same. We're interconnected.
Ooh, so well, let's follow up on the time as an illusion. Is that because as you're speaking, I'm saying, okay, if I just can't stop looking at your smiling face too on the side of my screen. It's really tickling my fancy. Therefore, we can talk about past lives, but then are we also then considering future lives that are coming in? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's, from the third dimension. The fourth dimension is sometimes considered space-time, so that you can have things happening in a linear fashion in a particular point in time. But then when you get up to fifth dimensional energy, time disappears. I mean, it's like time, it's all one. It's, it's like you can just look at it and there it is, everything happening all at once. Which is, where deja vu comes from, or, knowing something that's going to happen in the future. Anyway, that's my theory. I don't know if it's true, but I'm gonna throw it out since I'm a modern day philosopher.
And this is where I think we're kind of coming up to our time, which I pretty much always ignore. But I want to pick up on this because I think if I look at through the lens of my own work and how it kind of unfolds now, I actually think that we don't need to believe anything to receive the learnings from it, if that makes sense. And I more and more am curious in all of these different ways of understanding our life and the universe that are presented by us. Mm-hmm. And they're all windows for exploration for us to go on a learning journey about ourselves, whether we subscribe to the fundamental beliefs that are there or not, if that makes sense. Yeah. I think sometimes that need to understand things, as I was saying earlier, and to make sense of them can be a block to that just journey of exploration that is part of our human endeavor. And so I love anyone like you who is offering lenses and windows for this exploration. And I love that you're describing yourself as a philosopher. Because for me, from my understanding of philosophy, it's inviting us into a discussion rather than saying this is the prescription. Is that how you would see philosophy?
I mean, philosophy, it's thinking about why things are the way they are. It's trying to explain the nature of reality.
Yeah.
Why people do what they do. It's like an actual philosopher, like someone who has a degree in philosophy. I've taken classes in philosophy, might be able to give you a better definition, but that's my definition, I guess.
You know what? I just had an internal reaction of like, screw the degree is what came. It's like, I'm sure you've earned your own PhD in philosophy, if you know what I mean. And I'm curious, like, okay, so I'm just going to go over it by a few minutes, if that's okay with you, because I'm a little curious about your journey. You spoke about the writing journey a wee bit. What has been your journey of, and you may not frame it in this way, but I'm going to frame it in this way, of claiming the label of philosopher and claiming some of the labels that you're claiming, which takes something from my perspective. It takes something to say, this is the stand I'm taking, and this is the lens that I'm looking at it through. What has that been like for you? What's it like for you now as you're doing your first live interview, talking about these things? What's occurring for you?
Well, it did take bravery. I put out there that I'm a modern day philosopher because truthfully, you know what? That's what I am. I sit around and I think about this stuff. And so finally I said, okay, well, I might as well let some other people know what these things are that I'm thinking about and see what they think. There's this, the Pull Yourself Together also has this theme of authenticity and being true to yourself, which I was not for many, many years.
Wow.
My husband's in the Air Force. We currently live on an Air Force base. In the military, talking about these things, and it's terrifying to an extent to put yourself out there. And so for a long time, I was afraid of people rejecting me for what I thought. So I rejected myself for them.
Oh, just grabbing my little mic so I can.
And I just, I hid myself, and I'm not going to do it anymore. So I had to get the kick in the pants. I had to have that I had to win that contest, so that I would be in the position of, oh my gosh, I actually have to do it. Because then I was in the position of saying, okay, I mean, I could have chosen not to, but I wanted to be the version of me that followed the path to see where it was going to go. And honestly, it's been the reception from people has been really great. Some people, don't say anything, but there are so many people that have come out of the woodwork and said, oh my gosh, we have to talk about this, or I wish we had, talked more when I knew you, or whatever, that I know that if I had exposed myself sooner, I would have just had a lot deeper connections with people a lot sooner than now.
Although that's interesting, this, like riffing off. I mean, there's a version of you that is having those deeper connections, right?
Right.
And right. And I so relate to what you're saying, and it's just such a common experience that I really want to make it visible for everyone and underscore it. This rejection of self first as a self-protection mechanism. However, I find that, and this isn't universal, I find that the louder that voice gets, the more you're really getting closer to the true essence of why you're here and what it is you're meant to do at that time. And I think sometimes women in particular misinterpret that and conflate it with fear. I would describe it as something else, and I think there's a subtle difference in what it feels like internally. And regardless of whether a single person believes what you're saying or whatever, the very act of you making that choice to say yes to this and put it out in the world, I believe changes something and makes it possible for other women to consider that as a possibility, whether that's a tiny thing or a big thing. And really, also my philosophy is that we're all needed right now. Like, there's absolutely a reason that you were called to write this book, and something is already occurring because of it, which was already occurring anyway. And so, I salute you, since we're on the base, for your act of bravery. And I, as you were also saying that you're on a military base, I had this weird flash of, I don't know why I imagined a sandwich board outside of the front of your house saying, philosophy talk at noon at my place, right, bring hot dogs. And how many people are trapped in these systems that just don't give any breathing room for alternative realities and perspectives, and cut us off from our whole human experience of potential. So I salute you all around. And as we're wrapping up, Rebecca, firstly, how can people get a hold of your book? And also tell us, what are your hopes for it? Are you working with people around it? Are you doing programs around it? Tell folks how they can find you, find your book, and how they can work with you if you're doing work with it in that way.
Okay. So the book is Pull Yourself Together, a true story of alternate realities, spiritual healing, and dimensional wholeness. And it's on Amazon, it's on Barnes & Noble, it's kind of everywhere. And I'm also doing workshops. I have a workshop, an online workshop coming up on Sunday. So
Brilliant.
if anybody wants to look at that, it's going to have, it's going to dive into all the ideas that we've been talking about and do journaling and meditations to kind of take you and create that fifth dimensional space for your alternate selves together. And what else? So RebeccaWhitecotton.com. And there's an events page. So if you want to look at that, or you can find, I have a Facebook page, Rebecca Whitecotton, which I think on this page, I'm Rebecca, I'm my personal page, but if that makes sense. Anyway.
Yeah, and so, well, we've got all those different versions of ourselves on social media as well, right? So, yeah, well, what I'll get you to do, Rebecca, is I'll tag you in and you'll be able to find this. And if you could just post those links, and if you could in particular post a link to that workshop,
I will.
That would be amazing. That would be amazing. And I think I cut you off, so I just want to check that you weren't waiting.
You asked about where I was going with it, and the honest truth is I'm just following the breadcrumbs that Spirit's leaving for me. So, and seeing where it goes. So I don't have any like huge vision for where this is going, but I'm actually having a really good time along the way. So we'll see where it goes.
Okay, I just want to underscore that what you just said as well. Having a really good time along the way. Like that's the purpose, everyone. Like that's where it's at. Have fun, enjoy the ride, notice what's going on, and continue. Proceed until apprehended, basically. Rebecca, what a privilege and honor. Thank you for doing your very first interview with me live. I so appreciate it. And I want to leave in a couple of different ways. One is just to acknowledge that this is our final love seat for this series. All of these videos are now on our brand spanking new YouTube channel. So we'll be doing some work and some promotion around that if folks want to revisit these amazing discussions. And I'm going to invite Rebecca as well to leave all of the links below this video so that you can get in touch and reach out. And Rebecca, as we leave, as we close out, I'm curious, what is one way, if somebody's watching this or watching the replay and they're interested in beginning to connect to this way of being, and I'm going to describe it as a way of being because that suits my kind of language, what is one thing, apart from reading the book, of course, and grabbing the book, so everyone needs to do that first, what is one way that somebody can begin cultivating a relationship with their higher dimensions and actually cultivating a relationship to, you know what I'm going to ask? What is one of the first steps that people can do to pull themselves together?
I would say meditation is so key. It doesn't have to be some super formal, amazing thing, but it can be just sitting down by yourself. Even, I mean, sometimes I sit with a cup of coffee and all I think about is the cup of coffee and nothing else. And if that can focus your attention, and then kind of so that you realize that you're more than the body that you're in. So there's an additional dimension. There's a spiritual dimension. There's a consciousness that's in the body that can kind of float between third dimensional, fourth dimensional, fifth dimensional, and even higher, really. So the more you sit with it the more you sit and listen for any messages that it might have for you, the more you're going to hear. So I guess that would be my recommendation.
Beautiful. Me too. And I felt like I just had a moment just now, just listening to you and watching you and actually just tuning into the image behind you, which is also in the image of the front cover of the book. Did you paint it or did somebody else paint it?
I painted it.
You painted it. Okay. That's amazing. That's incredible. It's an incredibly powerful image. Thank you, Rebecca. Thanks for spending our last love seat together. Thank you for the work that you're doing in the world and for being a beautiful human. I'm Morna Haist, signing out of the Love Seat Series 1. I kind of feel like I'm dangling because I'm kind of like not wanting to press the end, but I'm going to. So I'm going to wrap up the live, but hang around, Rebecca, for a second. Bye, everyone.